Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Red Alert for Anfield Index. December was a funny month, wasn't it? We didn't get the contract renewals off the field. We got victories galore on the field, with the odd points dropped for various reasons here and there. There's plenty to talk about, there's plenty to like, but ultimately you just have to remember the Reds are top of every single league that you care to name. And here to join me as ever to review everything, look ahead to January, and just generally talk shite like the pair of them do. It is Mark and it is James as ever. So when we go to December, gents, like I will ask you for that one word or one phrase because Mark seems incompetent and answering in sort of one word. So Mark, we'll come to you first. December in a word or a phrase?
Pass. I think we'll call it a pass.
Pass. Okay. James?
Unfucking believable.
I'm going to go with happy ending because there's a lot to get into with December, to be fair. And some things in the middle probably weren't that great, but a nice happy ending, as I know you pair have probably enjoyed a lot of in your lives, no doubt. So we'll get into it, people. Before we go to January, let's talk December because, Mark, I'll come to you first of all as we talk through December. There was a lot to like. There was a lot of small, and let me call it small moments of rage at the same time as well, but a strong ending at the same time. So when you look at them results from December, what are your overall thoughts there?
Yeah, that's why I struggled kind of for one word to sum it up, because it was a month of like some really big highs and some difficult moments, and obviously the contract stuff rolls on, and we had a couple of injuries that we hadn't previously had in the season. So it's just like a hard one to sum up in one little piece, because there were times during this month it was sensational, and then there were a couple of moments, particularly around the two draws, where you were starting to think, oh shit, one more bad one and the wheels look like they're coming off here. So I mean, I guess the only way to do it really is game by game and run through the month. And the first of the month where we played City was brilliant. We swept aside a team that we have struggled with for almost a decade now. We looked just far the superior side, really did. The thing that I think has kind of summed up our month overall is goals. We've found goals from our forward line every single time we've needed it, pretty much, in the difficult moments, in the easy ones. We've smashed teams. We've found big goals, exciting goals from distance, just all kinds of goals, really. We've managed to get every kind of goal that we've needed through the month. And the Newcastle game maybe was the biggest one for it, where we were struggling through the game in a lot of ways. It's in a lot of ways the worst game we played in the month. We perhaps didn't even deserve to win the game, if we're being brutally honest. But we kept finding the goals. In particular, Mo just kept coming up with these brilliant moments, amazing cutback for Jones. And you remember he like slammed one off the bar. It looked like he was just like Steven Gerrarding it. He was just like taking that one on his shoulders and running with it. And he was going to find us a way to win, no matter what. Unfortunate error in the end of that one from Kelleher to snatch a draw from the jaws of victory. But ultimately, you're not going to win every game in a season. And if you look at the circumstances of that Newcastle one, sometimes you just have to kind of take your medicine. And I think that's one of those. It's a tough place to go, St. James's. They've got on to be in great form since then, which doesn't surprise me because they gave us a real game that night. So not too many complaints. We were missing Alisson. As I had mentioned, every now and again, it'll cost you not having the top guy in the right moment, kind of thing. And Kelleher did brilliantly, but that was that little one moment. The Everton one obviously doesn't go ahead, which I think kind of suited us in the moment, because we had been pushed really hard a lot of games. Looking back now, not too displeased with that. It's been rescheduled for not the worst place on the calendar either, so we'd probably take that one.
True.
The Girona one, kind of a rest as well. To some extent, we didn't need to win it. It wouldn't have mattered too much either way. It felt like a kind of pressure off game, but we went and did the job anyway. Just another Salah goal to win another game. The Fulham game was the one that probably annoys me most, just because it's home to Fulham, and again, of course, there are circumstances. You get a red card. What are you going to do with that? It is difficult with 10 men. Fulham also have, they've gone on themselves to show what a difficult team they are. They beat Chelsea at the Bridge just a couple of weeks ago there, and also on really good form. But I just would have liked to see us find a way in that one to go and just get it over the line. Ultimately, like I said, you aren't going to win every game, but 2 in a month where both of them felt like we kind of had it for a second and then didn't. It's disappointing. It is. And then you've got another kind of call it a rest one, if you will, like we were kind of describing at the start of the month, the ones where the pressure's not as big. The League Cup, you could take it, you could leave it. We go on and find a way in that one because we have 5 forwards who just continually find goals, and it doesn't seem to matter, which ones play, they get goals. I think it's 29 goals and assists in the month for our front 5, which is just a joke. Combination of 29. I mean, that's like, there are teams who have barely scored that up to this point in the season. We've got that in 1 month from our forwards. Swatted them aside. Then came the game of the month that I think we were all looking at, wondering exactly where this Liverpool team are. Can we go? Because bearing in mind at this stage, we've drawn our last 2 league games. We're going into this needing to win. There was no getting away from that. If you want to go and be champions, you've got to go and win this. And I think a lot of us were secretly hoping we would go and put down a marker. And, a marker we put down. It was fantastic. The football, I think, in this game for Liverpool was the best we've seen in any game of the season. Certainly offensively, we just looked devastating. Salah, again, at the heart of all of it, scoring goals, assisting goals, just absolutely magnificent. Diaz kind of came back to the party in this one as well. Hadn't really been hitting the goals since early in the season. He comes back with a couple there just to really start, saying, because Gakpo's been on this great run as well, and Diaz and him potentially vying for the same spot. And Slot's actually had to, find a new place for Diaz just to keep him in the team, and he's taken to that, like a duck to water. He's just been fantastic in that kind of false 9 position. Him and Szoboszlai in this game in particular, they interchanged as like both playing the 9 at times, and I just thought it worked magnificently in that game. I really did. I thought going forward, we were frightening. We looked devastating. We took our chances. Just one of those games. I watched it in the local pub here. Had the pub to myself and just sitting, pints of Guinness flowing, goals going in every time you step up to get a pint. It was honestly one of those games over a Christmas period. You get those kind of mad games over Christmas. It felt like one of those. Just loved it. Leicester City was up next at Anfield. I think you were at that one as well, weren't you, Jamesy? It was a bit of a mad night at Anfield with the fog, crazy fog. And again, a game that for periods of it, despite our control, I wasn't like fully convinced by us. I wanted us to. It felt like the goals kind of, for me, masked a little bit there. I felt like because of the opponent, Leicester were a team I really thought we were going to go and, because I just watched us be so devastating at Spurs, I expected us to go and just whack them for 5 or 6. I really did. And it didn't quite have that feel to me. It was until Salah scores that really late one, which is beautiful, the kind of pass into the thingy. We were heading into the late part of the game where 1 goal would have taken it from us. And I would have liked to see us being more controlled than that in that one. West Ham, basically the opposite of that. We just again, this is the only contender with Spurs for best attacking display of the season. We were ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. More beautiful goals. Mo Salah, again, just at the heart of everything good that Liverpool do. His little turn for the Gakpo first one was just unbelievable. His own goal, brilliant. Just so many good things to say about the attack and stuff we saw in the month. Trent Alexander-Arnold as well in a lot of those games there. flying in with, proper crosses, assists, these things that have become synonymous with what he is as a right back. And just a fantastic way to end the month, crunching 5 goals against West Ham. I thought they were dog shit, to be clear, really, really poor, but you still have to go out and beat these teams. And, we did, we crushed them. Just a really, really enjoyable month where goals flew. Like I said, 29 goals assists from our front line. Unbelievable. Mo Salah with 15 himself. Just an absolute joke. Really is. He scored him. He's like, he's getting full teams numbers himself. He's playing at that ridiculous higher level. Really fun roller coaster of a month, up and downs. Overall, still has to be pass marks. The other teams that we're up against also drop points where we did. So we find ourselves coming out pretty much how we went in. And, if that carries on for another couple of months and we come out where we begin, we'll be champions. So, what can you say?
Yeah, so much to like. And I think it's right you get a bit of criticism there. And Mr. Catone, I'm not going to try and pronounce your first name, apologies, but I thought we did run the show as well after that goal from Leicester early doors. They didn't have another shot on target. Agree with that. We absolutely battered West Ham. Spurs, we battered Spurs, we can say as well. We just let, a few goals and maybe sort of switched off a little bit. I actually think you've been a bit harsh there personally, because I'm going to come back to this because I think there's some performances we should enjoy a bit more. Jamesy, you tend to be more uber positive and, you burn incense like joss sticks and all that type of hipster stuff. So are you going to bring it up a bit of a notch, a bit of happiness to it?
Absolutely. I think it was a fantastic month. I think, first of all, how lucky we were to have the postponement against Everton. I think that was an absolute... because before City, it was Real Madrid on Wednesday night. Then you'd City and then you'd Newcastle. Yeah. That's 3 really, really hard games. Going on to Everton and then in the game. So I think that we've been blessed. The Liverpool against Manchester City, let's face it, it could have been 4-5. Salah missed a really, really good, if you remember that 1-1. The Newcastle game, that stings a little because we should have won that game. I mean, he should have just went up, caught it, and then that would have been the end of it. But Mark was right about Alisson and stuff like that. But I wasn't
going to press you on it. I wasn't going to make you apologise. I was just going to move over it.
And I'll tell you the result that I loved the most out of the whole of December was Liverpool against Fulham, because that is a game that we would have lost with Klopp. I can guarantee you that, because it's just one of those things. Fulham, they were a great team. They were really well set up. Silva has them set up really well, and we just completely dominated them when Robinson went off. Gravenberch played centre back, left back, right back, defensive midfield. He was just phenomenal. But who else is mentioned is Szoboszlai as well. I mean, Szoboszlai, he got, I think it was like the 71st or maybe something like that minute that he got brought off, and he literally just dragged off. And then Jones came on and he just pressed as well. It was absolutely phenomenal to see. And it was there as well. And you could see the tactics. And I was just like, wow, this is something special. We're witnessing something special here.
Yeah, I quite like that.
There
I
is
like
a lot
that
to like.
Just because, I'm being harsh criticising but I'm really looking at the result and what that does for the title and what you would expect going in. I do agree, from particularly in the Fulham game with 10 men, there were bits where it was unbelievable how much control we had. And similar to the Leicester game, I'm not trying to criticise the performance overall. It's just that leaving the door open like that, where it late to clinch it kind of thing. I think you have to take teams down in these moments. Otherwise, occasionally they'll bite you kind of thing, and you don't want to start counting down the points. You don't want it to go from 9 to 7 to whatever, and the Fulham one, while it was brilliant, you still have to be disappointed in some level that we didn't beat Fulham at home. If you're jotting down your perfect season, you beat Fulham at home, don't you?
Yeah, but you don't have a man sent off in the 16th minute.
Yeah, but I mean that's something to be disappointed about. You have to take that into context. That's something to be disappointed at Liverpool, where that's one of our guys got sent off. It's imperfect. It's not the way you want. It's not the way you want the game to go for us.
No.
This is the way they work, unfortunately, my friend Lasady, that this is the way, as he says, Alisson catches the ball, really isn't fair. Kelleher was fantastic when he played. Alisson has some howlers. Unfortunately, my friend, Mark is just harsh by nature in that way as well. And I kind of agree with Jamesy there, realistically. That was, and I'm not, don't, let me just be clear. We battled so well in that game. And actually, at the end, there was that bit where you were wanting Diaz just to square it to Salah to tap it in for 3-2, and it didn't quite happen. And I know people kind of jumped on that, don't get me wrong, but that was the game actually in the month after Newcastle where, bizarrely, I actually thought we're going to be all right here. We've got real battling qualities. If that's 11 versus 11, we destroy Fulham that day for me. We win that by a couple of goals against a really good side as well. And actually, if you look at where we went on from there, and you kind of ignore the League Cup in the nicest way because it's that beat Southampton that no one really cares about. But in the league, we kind of went dominant. And yeah, I think you are a bit harsh there as well, Mark, because apart from that early goal for Leicester, we absolutely dominated them. They didn't have a shot apart from that. It was all us playing in their half. And it almost felt for me, being honest, like we didn't get out of sort of second, third gear. We didn't really need to. I know it's a late goal from Salah, but it was more than convincing. No two ways about it. But we could talk about this all day, ladies and gents. We need to get into the players as well. James, I'll let you explain why it should be Mo Salah. Again, a player that you said it would not be a disaster if he left in the summer. But there might be some others that you can call out. But we'll let you talk about Mo Salah again and why it's not a disaster as normal.
Well, obviously the player of the month is Mo Salah. I mean, let's just put that into context. I think we've all talked about his numbers are just absolutely phenomenal. And again, you can rhyme them off. I mean, 52 direct goal contributions this season, 29 goals and 23 assists in all competitions. It's the best over 5 leagues. I mean, the best over 5 leagues. Like, what does that tell you? Now, obviously, we have to mention Gravenberch and we have to mention Dominic Szoboszlai as well, because the way that they, and you use this word, was battling, is the best word that you could possibly think about their midfield. Is we have legs and we battle for all the balls. And some of the performance for Fulham against Gravenberch and Szoboszlai for Fulham was just unbelievable. Like, it was just a great show to see. It really was. They were brilliant.
Yeah, I'd agree, though. There are so many good performances. Mark, it's got to be Salah, though, hasn't it? As much as everyone else performs so well, surely he is just like an elite level we're looking at now.
Yeah, by a mile. It's Salah all day long. Just, we've already kind of done the Salah show, so I'll almost go on to other guys just that I thought had a good month, because Salah's is, it's ridiculous. It was there for all of us to see. It was in every single game. He was the match winner every single time, pretty much. Other guys that I thought did really well, I think Gakpo just had a really big month for us. Something, maybe a level we haven't yet seen from Gakpo was hit. I think he got 6 goals and assists over the month, which is really, really impressive. Yeah. I totally agree with James that Szoboszlai and Gravenberch had big months. I think we've been saying it all season with Gravenberch, he carried it on there, but I think Szoboszlai actually went to a level again we haven't quite had from him yet this season. I thought he was not just the running power, because we have seen a lot of running power. I thought there was a little bit of kind of taking responsibility from him that we maybe hadn't seen in other games, and just that little bit of quality at the end of it, particularly in the Spurs game, the one when he takes that incredible first touch and then squares it for Salah to slot in. That's really like highest level technical stuff, which we haven't really been given that much of that from Szoboszlai this season. So really pleased to see that from him. And then Trent deserves a shout as well. Just a lot of great deliveries this month from Trent. A lot of our better attacking players had him somewhere in it. He was, big in the Newcastle game with a couple of assists. His cross for Diaz to kick off the goals against Spurs was fantastic, and just some great stuff against West Ham as well. Really, really good month for him. Van Dijk has been a joke, as he has been a joke in every single game he's played, it seems, for the last 7 years. Just near perfect stuff. Can't not mention him. And then I guess a little bit of credit to the likes of Joe Gomez, where you know, they haven't had a perfect month, but you know, they've been asked to do a lot there. It's not an easy shift coming in and replacing Kanate, especially with Trent, you know, getting forward so much, can leave gaps down that side. And for the most part, I thought he dealt with it all pretty well.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. Again, in a busy month where we had this many games, there are so many players come out with credit. Naturally, there's the elite ones, and we say like Salah, Van Dijk, they outstrip, you know, and that's natural. You need your elite players to show to the party. But like you said, Gomez, Bosley, Curtis Jones, even who didn't mention as people are commenting on there are so many important players. But it's natural that one player sort of dominates with Salah, and it's understandable why he gets all the headlines. I mean, looking at the results, everything that happened and everything as it's going at the moment, Mark, have you got any fears or worries going into January? Because we are steamrolling teams at the end of the year here.
Yeah, I thought something you said before when you were assessing the month struck a wee chord with, where you basically said you'd like gained confidence in the team through their battling performances, you know, even the ones that didn't quite go our way. And I think that's actually quite a good way to think about where we find ourselves here at the end of the month. Despite it being imperfect the month, you know, and injuries and red cards and a couple of different things didn't go our way, I have probably gained confidence in what we are, you know, and our abilities to get over these difficult moments, because we've had bits of all of them now. Injuries, like I said, the red cards are huge, couple of unlucky goals against us, and we've still managed to stand up, be counted, look like really difficult to beat. You know, the Newcastle game, you should really lose that, you know, when you're up against such a informed team there, struggling against it all, and your guys just are a little bit off it. You shouldn't find a way to turn those ones. You just lose when you're not at it like that. But we find a way just to, you know, get over the line and win it. Same with the Fulham game. The way we battled back in that was phenomenal. So I guess like my worries would be that not in the team, you know, not where we are. As long as nothing else goes wrong injury-wise, I don't really have any worries of what we are. I believe what we are now. I believe our level is. We're the best team in the country, if not the best team in Europe. I really do think that now. You know, we've gone beyond form. We look like this season's best side. That said, if you look at the things that went wrong throughout the month, so the Kelleher one where he dropped one, that was an injury that led us to that.
Yeah.
Quite a few of the goals that have gone in down that kind of Gomez and Quansah when he was in their side, which again, you look at Kanate and probably imagine he would have helped us with a few of those. There was one in particular, I'm forgetting which one it was now, where I think it's Quansah, they get past, it's like a ball into the box. Is it Leicester? It might be the Leicester one. And Quansah runs with the guy shoulder to shoulder, and you could literally picture Kanate doing the same thing in that motion and just winning the battle, you know, and shouldering out and taking him.
Fulham.
Well, yeah, Fulham, that's right.
That was
the Fulham one,
Fulham's second goal. Yeah.
Yeah, the Fulham second goal, and it comes across and gets kind of flicked in or whatever, doesn't it? And you just know Kanate would have kind of cleaned that up. So despite us coming out the month feeling so good about things, I do think injuries can make an impact. And if you look at our poorer moments of the month, they probably are injuries that have led us to them, kind of thing. And again, I don't want to disparage guys that are coming in and doing great jobs like Kelleher. It's not a criticism. They've been brilliant, and Gomez, brilliant. But, you know, we have the top level guys in almost every position. And when they step out, you do notice it. So my worry for December would be that we were, you know, Kanate and Alisson, we had good understudies for. My worry would be that, you know, Mo steps out or Van Dijk steps out, you know, something like that. If we lose a high level one, that will be a test for this side, no matter how good and punchy we've been.
Yeah, that is fair. It's gave it away because our backup cast is absolutely superb. It rivals any backups in the Premier League. It's just like you said, the top guys are just the top guys for a reason. We have elite players and you don't want to see them out for a single minute, as simple as that. Jamesy, you liked a lot of the battling quality.
Yeah, I guess my fear for January is left back is Andrew Robertson. He just worries me. He's making a lot of mistakes. He's not getting positional. He's getting caught out. There's a lot of concern there. Then you got Simicas as well, who's the backup. That's the thing that concerns me the most. And then obviously talking what Mark's saying is, if one of the big hitters did get injured, then that is, like God forbid if Salah or something like that, if he got injured, it would be, and also VVD as well would be a huge loss.
I think VVD is the really scary one. I think if you lose Van Dijk, and you end up with, Konate's not fit just now, you'd have Gomez and Quansah as your two centre-backs. That's such a drop-off where, at least with the front five, I know Mo's numbers are ridiculous, but at least if it's Jota who comes into play with Gakpo and Diaz, you still fancy goals. You still think we'll punch our way through most games. You don't have to beat everyone 5-0 or 6-3. You can win by a single goal in those moments till he's back. But I think if Van Dijk left, I think there'd be a confidence shift in the side where fear would just kind of set in, every forward coming to play us would be looking at that, just, licking their lips at Gomez and Quansah, I think.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with that. Salah's obviously an elite forward, but like you say, there are goals in the rest of the side. Not that you want to test that theory too much, don't get me wrong, but if Van Dijk goes out, I actually think that would just feel like a bit of a momentum shift and the others would just feel buoyed by that at the same time. So you really, really don't want to see it, not for a single second. But overall, people, there is so much to like about December and January. We're in it, gents. I mean, it's a weird month, Mark, when I look at it, because there's a lot of fixtures there, starting with United, Cup games, Champions League games that it finishes with as well. 8 games, but I might be wrong on this. I'm pretty certain you're going to be a bit like me and thinking there's a strategy to this because some are a million times more important than others. So when you look at January, what's your kind of strategy, what you're going for?
Yeah, I mean, a lifetime of wanting to watch Liverpool win league titles has left me basically looking at the league games only here and just not caring about the rest because it's that big now. It's that important. We've got that big a lead. I don't care if we die in everything else. Literally, even the Champions League at this stage. I think we'll go and do well in the Champions League. I'm not saying sack it off. I'm just saying I wouldn't personally care if it didn't go our way. I really wouldn't. I just want to win the league title more than anything. And in this month in particular, we've got away to Forest, away to Brentford, and home to United. Despite their condition, United, those are 3 enormous fixtures on the calendar. Brentford with massive home form, really difficult team to beat in their own ground. Our troubles against Forest, Slot still waking up in a sweat most nights thinking about Forest. I'm actually really looking forward to that one because of like what Slot, how he's built it up. I really can't wait in the hope that we win it and he can kind of put that to bed for himself. He can stop thinking about it. Because I didn't realize either that he hadn't had a defeat in all of his Feyenoord 6 months either. So Forest is literally the only calendar year defeat for Slot, which is I must really, really bug him. But yeah, I look at those games. You hope the Ipswich at home one in the league takes care of itself. That's the other league fixture in the month. So I think the 3 I mentioned: Forest away, Brentford away, and United at home. If we can come out with 7 points from those, I think I would take that at this stage. Assuming we make it 10 against Ipswich, I would consider that a successful month. Not every other team in the league, Arsenal in particular, I guess, that we're looking at, are going to win every game either. You can't expect to come out of every month winning every single game. I think those are kind of difficult ones. I'd take 10 out of them now. And as for the home to Lille game, I think we'll rest some, but I think we'll still we should still have enough there. Away at PSV's maybe one where you wouldn't mind if we don't win that one. Again, you hope we're well home and hosed right at the top of the pile by that. If we go and beat Lille, Accrington Stanley, it'd be nice to get some of the lads out in that one, some of the younger guys. A proper stay-at-home job for our bigger stars. And Spurs in the League Cup. I think those could actually be really good fun games, the Spurs games, because I think we know there's not as much of a serious nature about them because we're doing so well in the Champions League and the league. Don't think any of us care too much if we make it or don't make it. But it's a final and we know ourselves, having been to the last three, how much fun those days are. So now that we're there and we're playing these two legs anyway, may as well go and have a little punch at them. So chance for me, like not like our second string, but your Joneses, your Jotas, your Nuneses, those guys who are contributing still to go out and have a chance to kind of have a big day for themselves, and push to get in the first team. Like so Jota must be looking at these kind of months now and thinking, where am I actually going to start? Where am I going to get my minutes? Because at the start of the season, Jota was in most people's preferred 11. In games like those Tottenham games, guys like Jota's going to want to come in and get 2 or 3 goals and stake a claim, because it looks like Liverpool are going for all these different cups, all these different tournaments. It would be, you want to play in these, don't you? You want to be a part of it all, be starting every game. So yeah, I think it's an odd month. It's hard to know how Slot doesn't really seem to rest as much as we would predict or we would ourselves. So I think you'll probably find in reality the Spurs games you'll get much closer to full strength. I wouldn't. I'd rest a few. I hope he rests everybody for Accrington Stanley. But yeah, I just hope he comes out with our successful results in the league fixtures. Basically, that's what it'll boil down to for me.
Interesting. I mean, Jamesy, we're almost. I get someone's going to be screaming with a little bit, and I'm the same, because you look at the league fixtures as the one that stand out for me. Is that the same for you? Is it just these league games are the priority completely, or are you quite looking forward to having a bash at some of these cups or Europe at all?
I think any trophy in his first season, he's going to look at that Tottenham against Liverpool, and he's got 2 matches to get into the final to win his first trophy as a Liverpool manager. And he has to kind of look at it like that as well. And yes, we're going for the league, but there's no reason why we can't just gun on all 4 fronts. And I think that it's just something that Liverpool deserve. We can go for the quadruple again. I honestly don't see why we can't. And obviously the league is a priority, but I still think that the Champions League, I don't see why we can't win that. And I don't see why we can't actually go and do a job in Spurs and then see how we get on in the FA Cup. I think that you've got all these backup cast and they'll be licking their lips and saying that they can kind of go and prove something. So, the big thing is like Liverpool against Manchester United, we need to beat them. And even though they're very inept at the moment, it's their World Cup final. All the pressure is on us. There's no pressure on them, because if they compete, they'll be like, however, there's a lot of pressure on us. So it'll be like their World Cup final, and it'll actually be a hard match. I honestly do believe that.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I think you're right on that.
Yeah. And the Forest and Brentford, I mean, Forest, well, you see how they set up. They're fantastic. Nuno has them playing really good football. And again, that kind of those wingers and that tall like Wood as well. It's a kryptonite 4 slot, so he's going to need to come past that. And then Brentford, they score a bunch of goals. Yes, they got rolled over by Arsenal, but they were still very, very good. So again, those 2 are a little bit of a concern. If we drew one and then what got the 3 points in another, I'd be absolutely delighted. And then obviously Ipswich and United would need to beat, and that would be perfect. And then when it comes to the Champions League, like Lille and PSV, I honestly see we just win that. And I think we win it in a way that it's just like, we are dominant. Why would we go and lose, or why would we go and draw if it just shows, it puts down a big marker, and I think Slot's going to go after it. Now, you might not pay a full strength team, but he'll play a team that will get over the line with those two.
Interesting. See, a little variance on that. I mean, that obviously we start the month. You've got to win that against United. That's all that matters at the start. Spurs, I actually think a little bit of what we said, that you'll see quite a strong lineup, but a bit like Mark mentioned, for me, I would be like, right, Gravenberch, Van Dijk, Canard, and Salah, you stay at home. You don't even travel with us, type of thing. There's certain players you should just not gamble for that. But I kind of get it is a semi-final. The only thing that worries me, James, is you talk about it competing on all four fronts. You are dividing up your attention and focus when it's all title for me. And actually, if you just like, especially those Lille and PSV games, if we don't get a single point out of those two, who gives a shit? We're still qualified for the knockout stages. We're still in the top 8. It's more about don't get a knock, don't get an injury of those two. I know we can say being dominant, but actually from the looks of it, it doesn't seem to really matter. Like if we finish top of that Champions League group stage, whatever you want to call it now, as though it's going to be that different to finishing 4th, 5th, as long as you're in the top 8, which we're going to be anyway. So for me, I am kind of steering towards Mark a little bit, that it is all about those league games. I mean, we're being greedy again here. If you can get 6 points from them two, Brentford and Forest away, that is dreamland. That is absolute dreamland. And not only is it dreamland, if you beat United, you're saying that as well. If you win those two, that breaks the spirit of the others a little bit, because they're like, for fuck's sake, these bastards are winning like away at Forest, away at Brentford, tough sort of things as well. So they're right in the middle of the month. And everything around it, like, let's not lie, it sounds horrible. We don't care about Accrington. The others should take care of themselves a little bit. So those just feel monumental for so many reasons.
Yeah. I think even in the Champions League, we're now I think it's like 1 point means the worst we can finish is second in the whole thing. I mean, it's that, and and the likelihood is that those teams won't win anyway to do that to us. So I mean, those really are dead rubbers now. They are, and so is Accrington. So you just got to look at those league games.
It sounds bad. Do you know what these types of things are? These are Chiesa minutes. These are Endo minutes. These are chance to tick minutes over for squad players. It sounds greedy as fuck. I get that, but that is reality of what they are. Jamesy, start us off positive on this. Start giving us predictions from United downwards.
Right. Liverpool against United. I think we win 2-1.
Mark?
Yeah.
Win. I think more comfortable than that. I know it's a tough fixture, and I get why you think it'll be tougher than that. But I've watched the last 3 United games; they're atrocious. I mean, they're fucking atrocious, and we're dynamite. 3-0.
Now, the reason I'm saying that is because they have so obviously the Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield. Ugarte and Fernandes is back, which is completely, it's completely new look of United.
Yeah, they've played in the other games though. They've lost 5 of their last 6 or whatever. They're shite. They're just shite.
I know they're shite, but it's their World Cup final.
Yeah, I'm going to come in on this. Do you remember last season we were exactly the same when we were like, United are shy, it's going to be another 7-0. And then we had 35 shots and it was 0-0. So I'm in this one going for a 2-0, no injuries, and I will take that all day long. But I don't think it will be quite as easy as we like. This one, Jamesy. Well, Spurs away, Carabao. What you going?
I think the beat is 2-1. It's their Super Bowl, their World Series, whatever else you want. Postecoglou is under a lot of stress, and I think he'll go as strong as he can possibly go.
Woofed. Mark?
I think a score draw on that one. I do think it's a big game for them. They're particularly for Postecoglou needs to do something, or he's losing his job. But I just think we're so machine-like these days. We just don't lose games of football really, and we'll score draw them 2-2.
I've got 2-2 in mind. However, funnily enough, a bit like you, Jamesy, it would not surprise me at all if we lost that, just because after this game, it'll be more about rotation and maybe a little bit of almost a come down, if you want to call it that as well. So, yeah, it wouldn't be disaster, but I think a draw is what I'm leaning towards. This one, oh, Christ, Jamesy, Accrington Stanley.
Give them a bit of risk. Like, I'm going to say, I mean, it depends who plays, right? I mean, it can be anything from 3+. But let's just put a bit of respect on their name and we'll just say 3+. That's all I'm going to say. So 3 whatever.
3 whatever. Mark?
I'll go 3-1. I think we'll surely rest people for that one. And, I hope they get their little goal that gives them their day out kind of thing.
Kay's his first goal.
I still... That's the problem. We say we rest people. It's still feasible, even in that game. You could have a front three of like Jota, Chiesa, Nunes, which, it should be enough to absolutely destroy Accrington Stanley with the greatest of respect there. So, yeah, I'm going to go that they'll see 4 in this one. This one, nervous, Jamesy. What we going?
I think it'll be a draw. I think it'll be 1 each.
Mark?
Yeah, same for me, I'm afraid. I think a draw, 1-1.
I don't like that I'm saying this, but 1-1 is exactly the same scoreline that I had in mind. I just think we don't like Forest. They don't like us. They play an ugly way. It's going to be mentioned by Arne Slot about 26,000 times in the build-up to this, probably even starting at Accrington Stanley. So, yeah, I can see a draw in that one, but we'll see. Brentford, Jamesy, that's not easy.
I think we'll beat them 2-0. And even though they score a lot of goals, I think we'll beat them 2-0. I think Thomas Frank thinks he'll do a number in Slot. I don't think he will. I think it'll be 2-0 Liverpool.
2-0. Oofed. Mark?
I'm going for a 3-2 Liverpool win. And it's gonna be a late one. It's gonna be a Mo Salah late one. And that's gonna be the moment where we all just sort of think, do you know what? I think we're gonna do this.
Wow, look at that full script written at the same time. I'm going to go 2-1, and you've probably got a back with Salah, haven't you? But we will take absolutely any victory of any sorts with no injuries in that one. So, yeah, the big games. One that's not as big, Jamesy, Lille at home. What are you thinking for this one?
We win 2-0.
Convincing, Mark?
Yeah, something similar. I would say 2 or 3-0. I think even though I hope we rest a couple for that one, I still expect us to have too much for them at Anfield European night.
Yeah, and then nice and easy that way. I've got 2-0 in my head. We'll see what happens there. This one, Ipswich, goals galore, Jamesy.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on Liverpool hitting top gear, and I think they're gonna absolutely batter someone. Like when I watched them play West Ham, it could have been 10-0. It really could have been 10-0. And I think we're seeing 5+ in this game. He'll be triple captain for my fantasy. Someone, let's just say who.
Wow, interesting, Mark. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say we'll just compare them, but it's harder than that in the Premier League, isn't it? We never seem to do that. It's actually harder at Anfield to do that than it is away from home, because teams just come and sit in. If you look at our high-scoring ones recently, they're away from home because teams have a little bit more of an onus to come at you. Ipswich will come and sit tight there, and I still think we'll beat them. I'll go, 3-1 or whatever, but I don't think we'll rip them to shreds.
The only thing, I think you're right. I think they will sit in. They'll play the kind of 5 at the back they do. The only thing I will say about Ipswich is with the greatest respect, there are still players that have played in League One there. So we are a full sort of class above. So I do think you'll see sort of 3 or 4. But yeah, any victory at that time of the year with no injuries will take. And finally, Jamesy, to finish the month and finish the Champions League campaign, PSV away.
I think we'll win 1-0.
Very specific. Mark?
Yeah. Score draw, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm kind of hoping in a way that, especially with February, which we're not even going to talk about, there's far, far bigger fish to fry than that one. So I'm quite happy if it's almost a scratch side and you just go away and win, or even a draw. It doesn't really matter as long as no one gets injured. So I can see a score draw on that. Yeah, there's league games, there's cup games, and I think we are well and truly dividing up the month. There's no two ways about it. So that is everything on the field. Off the field, gents. I mean, contract chatter galore. And just in case anyone has actually missed it today, Mo Salah actually gave an interview via Sky. So we'll just play a small clip of this just for people who might have missed it, might not have heard it at all.
Thing to do. So hopefully we can do it this year.
You said this is my last season at the club. Do you really believe that when you say it?
Yeah, so far, it's the last 6 months. There is no progress there. Like we're far away from any progress. So we just need to wait and see.
So how do you maintain the level you're maintaining with all that noise, with all that going on?
I think the thing in my head is like, okay, if that's your last 6 months or last year, what you want to see it in the future? Like, you want to look back and say, oh, I was concerned about the contract, or I was stressed, or just you want to say, okay, I had an unbelievable season. So that's in my head now.
I mean, Jamesy, I can almost feel my heart hurting as I'm listening to the words coming out there that we're into that time. There's no progress at all. We've also seen various things like Rami, his agent, set to be at Anfield this weekend. So we're hoping there's progress. We've even seen things like the Trent side as well. Paul Joyce, David Lynch, people reporting that Liverpool are saying Trent is not for sale in January, but Real Madrid are making bids. And there's no resolution with either or any of these 3 superstars for us at the moment. I mean, you've been uber positive on this, Jamesy. Let's not pretend. Is that waning at all?
No, I have to stay. So, for example, I think Salah will be done soon enough. I think it's just one of those things that's happened. You know, we talked about it many times in different podcasts in regards to hierarchy and also the changes that's happened in Liverpool sponsorship deal and so on and so forth. And I think it's just an accumulation of everything that has just taken longer. Now, should it have like 6 months and the contract of the best like superstars in the world, should that have happened? Absolutely not. It's criminal. But I do believe Salah's going to get done. Van Dijk will get done. And then the whole thing with Trent, it'll drag on. It'll probably be March, and then he'll sign. That's my prediction. I think that's what will happen. Real Madrid, opportunistic. Obviously, there's been noise made by Trent's camp, and Real Madrid are just kind of seeing if they can kind of chance their arm. That's what they do. But the thing that baffles me, Dave, is like, why would you leave your boyhood club? Be different if we were 6th and we weren't, you know, we have a manager who's making them better. We're top of the league. We're top of the Champions League. We're still gunning for 2 cups at the moment. Why would you leave somewhere just to go and, you know, sip sangria and eat some paella and talk about haircuts with Jude?
Interesting. Mark, James, and listen, as I'm saying this, I'm hoping James is fully correct, but if James does stop sort of snorting MDMA or whatever sort of leading into this thought process right now, I think a lot of people will think, Mark, it's not quite as positive. Hopeful. Are you as expectant as James, though?
No, I think it's nothing short of a disgrace at this stage that we've reached January and these aren't done. I mean, I really do a proper disgrace. I think even if they do get done at this stage, the message we're sending, the way we're treating these world-class stars and having these things dragged out so publicly, I just think it's a joke. I really do. I think it's such a poor way to run, a club of our size. I think guys like Salah should, they should have nothing to think about this season but going on and winning us titles. They shouldn't be concerned over their contracts and all this sort of stuff. And for me, it has to come down to the club penny pinching. I would be shocked. I basically think if Salah was looking for a big pay rise or anything, we would have heard about it by now. The club would have fed it out and we'd know that. And they haven't, and neither has Van Dijk. So that just leaves me completely perplexed at how they can't come to an agreement, how we've got here where he's still saying no progress. I mean, how could it be, with each day that passes when you don't hear something, you start secretly thinking maybe it's getting close, maybe it's any day now sort of thing. Then you get an interview where he says nothing's changed, we're no closer, no progress. It's honestly, it's painful. It's like, we adore these guys and they're just doing the job at the highest level for us. I can't understand what is going on. It's got to the stage where, I think if Richard Hughes doesn't get this done imminently, he's got to go. He's got to get shipped out. We have to have someone in that job that is going to get these done. It's too important. The Trent one's different. I personally don't blame the club. There's, it was said way back when he signed the 4-year deal that he had rejected a longer one. I think it was 5 or 6 he was supposed to have signed. Didn't want to. Now we've got here and he's still not signing one. That all looks a little bit orchestrated to me, which with the way it appears to be playing out of going to Madrid, I think this was Trent's plan, all of this. And I think the proof will be in the pudding when he goes to them. And he didn't sign his long deal. He's refused to sign a deal all this time and then goes for nothing. I still think that's what's going to play out. I've been saying that from the start with Trent. I don't understand how he would have got to this season without signing a deal. It's not like the other two where the club waited, because of their ages and wasn't sure, what they wanted to offer, and the negotiations are tougher. This is just a star in the prime of his career. They would have been offering this for the last 18 months and he's chose not to sign it, which is why I'm certain he's not signing it. He doesn't want to. He's going.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that the two superstars in Van Dijk and Salah have been overtly clear they want to stay. They couldn't have been clearer. They couldn't really have been louder about that. There is zero doubt. I think the thing about Trent, which is different, is his silence is deafening in a certain way. And especially it's getting to the stage now because Real Madrid have made the first bid. And I don't know if you probably saw the stories today. Paul Joyce suggesting that Real Madrid, might come back again with a second bid. If that does happen, the things that I think people are sort of going through are, well, they must be doing this with some encouragement. It's Real Madrid. They're not pissing in the wind. Let's be completely honest about that. And the second thing is, if a second bid does come in, we are getting to that stage where Trent can't just stay silent all this time, because obviously people are going to ask questions that these bids are coming in, where they're coming from. We don't want anything to derail this championship charge. That's what it's all about, winning this league title. The only thing it feels that can ruin the league title at the moment is injuries to these three players, or the contract issues just rumbling on and the noise just distracting from everything else. And there does just feel like a little danger that is just starting to creep in. Listen, and I'm hopeful as I'm saying this. We know, as we saw that story, Rami is in town this weekend. There's this little bit of me just hopes that someone gets all their heads together, kind of smacks it together and says, listen, this Egyptian demigod wants to say, let's just get it thrashed out, whatever it takes in this room. No one leaves, without blood and a signature on a contract type of thing. That is what we all desperately want. But time is ticking and you do have more questions the longer it all goes on. There's no two ways about it. But we'll finish on this one. James, Out of 3, how many are signed by the end of January?
2. I think Van Dijk and Salah will be signed by the end of January. I don't think Trent will. I think it'll rumble on. He'll maybe do a couple more celebrations, a bit more cryptic clues.
Interesting. Mark, how many by the end of January?
Oh, it's tough. I want to say 2. I really do. I want to say 2. I want the big 2 done, but Trent saying, Salah saying, no progress, that sort of stuff. It really has put a sickener on me with all this stuff. It really has. It's just so disappointing. I'll say 1, Van Dijk. I think the Salah stuff is genuinely worrying.
I don't believe that either. I think Salah's playing a wee game, to be truthfully honest with you.
It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah. If you look at body language, he scratches his face when he's talking about his contract. Have a wee look.
Yeah.
Well, scratch, sniff, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really sort of fill me with confidence. I'm a little bit like Mark. If I hadn't have seen that interview today, and listen, Salah might be playing a game, and listen, he's playing it very well because he's not got everyone kind of excited with his words. There's no two ways about it. But I do think 1 as well. I do think it'll be Virgil van Dijk by the end of this month, but we will have to see. Most importantly, though, we know it's about what happens on the field, but Liverpool, if you could just get that stuff sorted off the pitch, contracts-wise, everyone would be ecstatic. So there we are, people. A lot to like in December, a not perfect month. January, divvy it up. It's about the league games, the cups. What will be in those. But there is a lot of tough fixtures, a lot of twists and turns, and hopefully 3 or so signatures on certain pieces of paper. All it leaves me to say as ever, gents, Mark, James, for the time, the insight, for the answers, it is much appreciated.
No
Thank
problem,
you.
mate. Pleasure.
And ladies and gents, that was another Red Alert.